Hi, folks. Welcome once again to our enterprise management module. At this point, we'll be looking at the different business models that organizations could use or could adopt in order to ensure they achieve the operational objectives, their mandates as a going concern. So that there are various business models, archetypes that people could use, that organizations could use. We'll concentrate on a couple of them, one after the other, and try to see how best we can work using these models or apply them in future scenarios. Okay, so I'm very sure you might have heard of some of these models. You might have come across these models in your previous studies. So it shouldn't be anything new. Okay, it shouldn't be anything new. All right. So as we saw from the previous section, where we looked at the business ecosystems. Okay. Now we'll be looking at the alternative business models. And again, this will be split into three different videos to make sure it's quite concise, not too laborious. You can at least skim through. So we'll not keep long on this. I'll try as much as I can to be very detailed where possible, but I'll make sure we grasp the key understanding. Okay. All right. So organizations usually have a traditional model where they define what is a value, what is value, who needs it. They create a value, they deliver it through channels and capture or recognize these models, these values. Okay. Let me take the pains to explain this one step at a time. Okay. So it is a four-step approach. It's a four-step approach. Okay. The first one you see is that first, let me explain the traditional business model. So any business model you can think of, or any traditional business model that creates value, is actually a matrix. It's a structured system, okay, which defines the market in which the company operates. So in which market is it operating? Again, the traditional model will tell you that how are we engaging with the market? The market, first it will define the market, and then how do we engage with the market players? How do we engage with the suppliers, with the customers, with the regulators? How do we engage? How do we relate and interact with them? Okay. Again, it will clearly specify the kind of products and services that a company produces and who needs what at what time, and also try to clearly distinguish the categories of customers that the company needs to satisfy. And of course, how do we satisfy these customers? We need to have a clear-cut distribution channels within which we can use to transmit our goods and services, and of course, obtain payment for those goods and services. So that's the business model. Any business model will run this, have a market, a structured market, how they relate or interact with the market players, how they engage with them, their products and services, who are our customers, how do we meet their needs, and how do we distribute these goods and services to our customers. So the four main traditional approach in creating value in the business model is actually one to define value. So first and foremost, the company would always look at who we are, what are we creating. Okay, what are we creating? We are creating something, we are creating a value, but how are we going to create this? Okay, so the definition of value is simply looking at who the company is creating value for. So the focus is more on customers, and what counts as value. What do these customers consider as value? Is it what we think, or they have a different perspective? Maybe they are looking at the customer satisfaction that they receive after they purchase the products, and not necessarily the physical output that they get. Okay, so define value. Whom are we creating for? Do they also consider this as value? That's the first step. So after you've been able to identify who they are, what they need, we then create the value. But value is not just created in the vacuum. We have to get the raw materials, the resources. We have to convert the resources and then convert it into outputs. So the creation of value takes the form of this manufacturing service production. Okay, so we look at our suppliers, our vendors. They give us the raw materials. We look for man labor hours. or human capital who will help us, and machinery, which will help to convert these raw materials into final products, into outputs or services. Even if we buy the items off the shelf and we bring it within the company, what do? The company will most likely add some value to it, packaging, changing, preserving it, or making sure that it meets some quality standards, which will help meet that kind of value the customers are looking for. Then the third, so you can see that at the second stage, we have vendors, we have human beings, the labor, okay, the suppliers, sometimes even competitors. They will form the stakeholder group over there, which we need to satisfy or meet their needs. Then the next step is to deliver the value after you've created the outputs. You don't consume it. You give it out. You sell it. You distribute it. So deliver the product, deliver the value to these customers whom we've identified in for the first step. Okay. So find ways and means to deliver it. The distribution channels. Would you want to use a delivery service organization? Would you do it yourself? Would they have to come and pick it up? Okay. So again, you can see there are quite a few number of stakeholders we need to satisfy over there in the delivery process. Middlemen could be there, or the customers themselves could come pick it up, or we can outsource it to a delivery company who will come and pick it up. And then finally, after we've done all this, created the value and delivered it, we don't leave it hanging. We have to recognize, measure, and report it, disclose it. So we've created value, we've given it out, we've gotten money for it. Okay. At the end of the day, let's measure this value, let's capture it in our books, and let us disseminate this report to the shareholders who are interested in seeing what their investments have yielded. Okay. So each section of this model looks at some range of shareholders, and we need to satisfy them. Remember, from the definition of a shareholder, we said what? They can impact the firm and can be impacted by the firm's operations. Okay, so the influence and can be influenced, and it could take the form of ethical stakeholder recognition or managerial, ethical, a broader scope, which is quite difficult to achieve, no boundaries set, but managerial, where we have boundaries which are set. Okay, so every stage has some stakeholders. So we'll look at these stakeholders again, and that will be our main business model, which we'll be examining. So look at these stakeholders. What do they need? And decide how to create the values for them. If the customer is more interested in good customer satisfaction, target that one. Don't target just the product. Yes, the product is important, but after sales service, they are more interested in after sales service. So you have to target that one. So it is always necessary, important to identify the specific stakeholders. What do they need? And of course, not all stakeholders from the managerial stakeholder theory, not all stakeholders can be satisfied. So it is important for us to rank them in terms of priority. Who wields more power? They are the ones you need to satisfy. Okay, the one who doesn't wield much power, you give them minimal efforts. Okay, we'll look at this model in the next few slides. Okay, so again, it is important for us to speak to these stakeholders, consult them, engage them, get to know what they need, so that it can shape in the company's directions in terms of what to produce, when to produce, how to produce, and how to deliver. Okay, it's a very dynamic process. It's not static. It keeps changing. So the most common approach used during this stakeholder analysis is the Mendelows Matrix, which I think many of us might have heard. Okay, Mendelows Matrix. Let me give you a little breakdown of Mendelow's matrix. You've seen it. It has to do with ranking or mapping the power of the stakeholder to the interest of the stakeholder. These two elements are very key in trying to understand the Mendelow's matrix. But a brief history about Mendelow's matrix. So Mendelow in 1981 put together this simple matrix where he tried to map stakeholder power against their interest and see who wields higher power, who wields lower power, and who wields more interest and low interest, and mapping them together. But in 1999, Johnson and Scholes, this management experts, Johnson call it Scholes, Johnson and Scholes, they modified the Mendelow's matrix in such a way that they made it more robust and added some additional dimensions that using the word like get involved, keep satisfied, okay, monitor closely, those kind of words. They try to modify it more. Now again, in 2005, two other authors by name um, Olander and Landis, yeah, very sure. Olander and Landis in 2005 also modified this same theory. They built upon Mendelow's 1981 matrix and also added some dimensions that we should look at power. Um, the power push, who exerts more power. Okay. Sometimes some people migrate, they have low power, but by the time you realize they become more powerful. A lot of work has been done by management experts on stakeholders on this matrix, on Mendelow's matrix. And of course, in 2011, there's a couple of guys, very clever guys. If you've read the article, very good article. Freeman and his colleagues, Freeman, Harrison, Wicks, Parama and Cole, they also added another dimension to the Mendelow's stakeholder matrix. And what they said was that let us also add the moral interest. Then that one tends to move the entire stakeholder theory into the realm of the ethical stakeholder that look at other moral ethics. Listen, you're destroying the grass. The grass cannot speak. The grass did not set up the company, did not invest, doesn't buy from the company. But remember, the grass can one day affect you because you destroy the environment and the environment will come after you. So it has evolved over time. Okay. All right. So that's a brief history about the matrix. We'll not do much on that. Now, in order to be able to better understand whom to keep satisfied, whom to keep involved, whom to inform always, this stakeholder matrix tends to give us the potential risks and disruptions associated with overlooking any of these dimensions. The power is important, but look at the interest. Okay, it is always important to rank them. Who comes first? Okay, it is a more comprehensive approach to understanding stakeholder needs. It helps us to identify their expectations so that we can map the company's limited resources to meet these expectations. Okay, at the end of the day, remember your company will either lose its reputation if it doesn't work to satisfy the key stakeholders, or it will even lose its license to operate as a going concern. The legitimacy that it will have from these stakeholders to survive will not be there. Okay. So it's a dynamic process. It keeps changing. Like I said, somebody with low interest will one day grow or metamorphose to become someone with a higher interest and strong power. So in the illustration, as you can see on the screen, the Mendelows matrix, which we would always mention, Scholes and his colleague Johnson have done a good job, but still credit to Mendelow. Okay, so what they are saying principally over here is that let us always involve stakeholders, okay, who have higher power and higher interest. Okay, high power and higher interest, keep them involved. They are players that you cannot overlook them. Key players, talk of key clients, key customers, major customers whom you cannot ignore. Okay, any action you take against them could cause your downfall. Now, Mendelow's matrix is also talking of satisfying those guys who have high power but low interest. High power but low interest. And these are large institutional investors or shareholders. They can withdraw their money. And by the time you realize they are off, your company is off, okay? And of course, remember, these shareholders, institutional shareholders, could also move to gain higher power, higher interest, in which case we have to keep them involved. So they always oscillate, they move. One person can move from being kept satisfied to being kept involved, okay? And then, of course, keep informed those guys who have high interest in the company, operations, but low power. Okay, who are examples? Which examples can you talk of? The charities, the NGOs. Okay, they have high interest but high power to influence the kind of investment decisions we make. And of course, there is a large group who have low power, low interest. For those guys, some minimal efforts. Okay, some minimal effort. So, what does Johnson and Scholes say about these guys? For those we keep involved those with high power and high interest. These guys, their participation is key. Don't risk it. Always identify them. Those major shareholders who are always interested in the profitability, don't risk them. Okay. Those key clients who are always interested in the kind of goods and services you provide them and after sales services, don't risk them. Again, for those we keep satisfied, always provide them with regular communication, regular feedback. At the end of the day, these guys, yes, they only have high power but low interest. So they want to be kept informed constantly so that they will know what is happening. Political parties could be one of those guys in that particular category. Okay. And then again, for those guys we keep informed, those with high interest, low power, like the NGOs, just inform them, give them some information on what you are doing. Tell them the CSR, the sustainability activities you are running in the system so that they will know that you are not destroying the system. And then those guys at the lower bottom, minimal effort. Okay, some minimal effort that you think you can do. Okay, all right. So that is it for. I'll keep that one on the Mendelows matrix whilst we move on. So remember, each stakeholder needs to be satisfied using a different strategy. The way you manage the key clients should be different from the way you manage the key shareholders. Okay, so based on their interest, design a tactic, a strategy that you can use to satisfy them. Make sure that their interests do not they will conflict anyway, but make sure even if they conflict, you can find a safe way to split them very evenly. Okay, companies sometimes operate multinational across boundaries. They can be very sensitive to what happens to their operations abroad and within economies. Cultures can always impact them. What we have to do is that in such situations, such companies must always take guard to ensure that their strategies on all the policies they put in place does not harm the cross country, the other country in which you are operating. For example, recently following the news back home, in Ghana, you realize that those of in Ghana, I'm sure most of you are not Ghanaian. So in Ghana, there's this kind of site where the Minerals Commission had identified a whole community that there are rich mineral deposits in that land. People have built their houses. What they have to do is that they want to raid all the buildings, destroy all the buildings so that they can mine the mineral ore. Okay, manganese or bauxite, one of them. But then this any company, assuming they outsource it to a company outside or even a company within the country, okay, you must be sure that what you are doing does not defy the cultural settings of the people. Will you hire more people? You are destroying our habitat. Will you hire more of the young ones to work to gain some livelihood from that? From that, there's always the conflict between you destroying our water bodies, polluting the water bodies with cyanide. We cannot drink water. Water bodies will be destroyed. But would you be able to restore the habitat to its original state? Okay. Mostly we have heard where people go on to mine oil, to drill oil. Okay. In Nigeria, you might have heard it. At the end of the day, the local tribes, are they affected or they benefit from the extraction that is being done? Okay. So customer satisfaction can be easy, but it can be complex. You always have to be sure you are understanding their needs and measuring their satisfaction appropriately. Sometimes we measure customer satisfaction using online surveys to be sure whether they are doing well. Okay, even in this module in academia, we always say that students are the key customers. So at the end of the day, you guys will be running a module evaluation questionnaire to state whether you were satisfied with the module or not. But we always have to take this into consideration to plan the next steps forward. Okay, that's it. So there's a class example. We want to do it using the groups we posted online. Okay, so about 5 groups. All of you try work it. Okay, so it has to do with Chop Limited. It's a forestry business. It leases large woodlands from the government. It employs 2,000 staff, supplies wood to 300 small businesses. Profitability has dropped this year. The company is struggling to pay dividends, and 3 main shareholders who hold 20% stakes each are angry. Now, many other shareholders, but none own greater than 1%. Many more shareholders, but none of them owns more than one. But these three main shareholders who hold 60% stake overall are angry. Now, three main shareholders want the directors, these three main shareholders who hold overall 60% stake, they want the company directors to make 200 people out of the 2,000 staff redundant. That's 10%. Now, employees are unhappy. Assuming you are in this workplace, what would happen? How would you feel? Okay. And they don't have a trades union who will advocate on their behalf. The question is that using Mendelow's matrix, define or determine the strategy for each stakeholder about the decision to make 200 employees redundant. Okay. So you can use the table to complete it. So look at the stakeholders. The government is there, staff is there. Okay, the suppliers with small businesses are there. Okay, profitability has dropped. So shareholders, investors. Okay, look at the shareholders there. Okay, other shareholders, employees, the trades union. Okay, you can identify any additional stakeholder you can think of. Okay, now complete this. So sample layout has been populated. Okay, so simply work it out. Okay. Look out for the stakeholder. What's their level of interest? Is it high, low? What would you do? Do you want to keep them satisfied? Minimal efforts involved? Okay. Which one do you want to do? All right. So that's it for the first session. Okay. It will be important or very important if we can post our analysis on Aula. Again, we will engage constructively in class to discuss this in our usual tutorial session. All right. So that's it for the first part of this business model discussion. We'll look at the two more, and each one will make sure we keep it concise within 30 minutes. This past 21 minutes, so that's good. All right. All right. So see you in the next session. Thank you.